Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the new assessment for the Synoptic for AAT Level 3 that's going to be started from September 2021. So we're going to practice few questions from the new Synoptic and the structure and what sort of question we can see in the exam and what is the requirement, all of this from this lesson. All of us you already know there are a few changes coming from September for the Synoptic level 3. So the spreadsheet or Excel will not be the part of the Synoptic anymore. So let's have a look what we have here. The first thing we can see here, they said this practice assessment is to support you sitting your Synoptic assessment from September 2021. So obviously that will be the student who are going to sit the Synoptic from September 2021. So let's have a look what else we have. So they are saying here at the end of this practice assessment, you will receive an immediate assessment result. This will only take into account your response to take task 1, 2, and 5, because this question will be marked by the computer. On the other hand, a few questions that is written that will be marked by the human. So you're not going to see this result immediately because it's just a practice assessment. So let's have a look what we have here. The first thing that every assessment we have, that is assessment information. So we have 2 hours and 30 minutes. Before it was 3 hours exam. Now they reduce it to 2 hours and 30 minutes. So that will be a little bit complex from the duration point of view, but the good news is we don't have any spreadsheet or Excel, so that will save a lot of time for us. Now the spreadsheet, they have a separate exam, and for that exam we have 2 hours. So obviously, like, we really don't have to worry too much like why the half an hour is gone. It will be difficult for us. It's not really, because it will be much quicker than before. This assessment contains six tasks. So we have to answer 6 questions from this Synoptic assessment, and you should attempt every single question because all the question we have, this is mandatory, there is no optional. Then the rest of the thing is kind of similar. So we have 80% the total marks for this assessment, and total contribution for the overall grade for this Synoptic paper will be 35%. So on your overall score, the contribution from this paper will be 35%. And the rest of the thing is a very normal. It is the same like before, like you have to use the bracket, or you have to use the minus in order to show the minus sign or the negative mark. You need to put the point, the full stop, in order to show if it is the pence after the number. So all of this thing like very common for us because we have done few papers already. When we talk about Synoptic, that means you already done few papers. We have already passed few papers. So let's have a look what we have here. Let's start the assessment, and let's see how can we solve this. So if we start the assessment, the first thing will be seen here, that is the task. So let's have a look how many tasks we have in this question. So you can see we have 6 tasks, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and every single task have a separate marking. So we can see we have a 15 marks for question number 1, and there are few ethics questions or scenario or information here. That is kind of the supplementary material for you to read and get the right answer. But I never recommend to depend on this material, because in the exam, you will already have the time pressure. So you really don't have to depend on the supplementary material that you're going to read it and you're going to answer from there. So don't do that. Always make yourself ready for the ethics point of view, and you answer from here. So let's try to solve a few questions from here. Let's have a look what we have here. So the first thing we can see we have here, and that is task 1. This task is based on a workplace scenario separate to the rest of the assessment. So every single task, they will tell you it is a link with other question or not. It says, was it, it's a very close to my name. My name is Sajid. So they said, was it, is an accountant who works for Leham Limited, a large organization with many employees. Tara, a new accountant with Leham Limited, has made to a statement to was it about how she believes the ethical code applies to her. Now remember that ethical codes is not a rules, it's a guideline. So you have to behave this way, that way. It is not, it's not like a rules, it's not like a act, it's not something made by the parliament. So for example, if I don't close my computer tonight, if I don't shut it down, there will be the wastage of the energy, but it is unethical, but it is not illegal. I have explained so many times the difference between the unethical and the illegal on my ethics lesson. So obviously, you need to understand the difference between these two. So let's have a look. The first one is says identify whether the following statement are true or false. So we have to identify is it true or false. I have no duty to act in the public interest provided that I act in the interest of Leham Limited and the accountancy profession. They said whatever happened to the public is not matter for me. I only have responsibilities the company I work for and also my profession. And this is not correct. So you should not do something, you should not act like a way that will hamper the public. For example, if you know your client is involved with the money laundering, you have to inform the right authority or appropriate authority, because this is your duty. So it's not, you cannot say like, this is not linked to me or my company, so I have no interest for the public. That's not true. So I said that's false. Then the next one, they said the ethical code provides detailed rules on how I should act in every possible situation that I might encounter at work. This is not true. Remember that, as we said, the ethics is not a rules, it's a guideline. Remember this word, rules. It's not a rules, it's a guideline. Now, if this question change from rules to guideline, that time it will be true. But now I'm going to say it is false, because ethical code is not a rules, it's a guideline. So I'll say it is not true, it is a false. But if the question change in the exam, if they said it is a detailed guideline, that time you have to say it is a true. All right, the next point we're going to see here, they're saying B, identify whether or not the ethical code specifically requires Tara to take each of the following action in order to act in the line with the principle of the professional behavior. So let's have a look. Ethical code, what says to Tara from the ethical code point of view. Action and the required and not required. So you have to pick either required or not required. Comply with all regulations that affect Leham Limited. Now, is it required? The question is yes. So I have to comply. I have to comply. Comply means follow the rules. So any rules that is linked to the company I work, I have to follow these rules. Otherwise, it will be like the breach of contract or breach of the rules. Now, remember, in UK, we have a common law, and the common law always said comply or explain. So there is no codified law here. Codified means like there is no written law here. So what we do, we follow the rules, and if we don't follow, we always explain why I'm not following that. So I have to comply if this linked to my company. So ethical codes always promote me or always encourage me to follow to the company I work and what type of regulation or compliance they have. The next one we have here, it says promote the reputation of the profession at every opportunity. Now, obviously, like it is not possible, or maybe it is not the thing I should learn from the ethical code. So it is my responsibility. I try to I try to build the reputation, or I try to enhance the reputation of my profession in every opportunities. I'll do that. For example, if I'm AAT qualified, if I'm a ACCA qualified, or if I'm a ICW qualified, I try to build or create the reputation for my profession. But the AAT or ethical code will not tell me like build the reputation for your profession. So I would say it is not required by the ethical code. It is important, I can do it, but it is not telling me by the ethical code. Let's move to the next one. The next one we have here, they said, Wazid has noticed that Tara does not conduct her work thoroughly and she often completes it late. He believes that as a result of Tara's lack of diligence, she is in a breach of one of the fundamental principles. Now, obviously, we understand like there is a lot of people in the workplace that don't complete their work on time. And this is against the ethical principle. Of course, like you have to show your professional behavior. Now, in some case, if you don't submit your work on time, maybe you will end up with a penalty. Especially, for example, if you work in the payroll department, and if you don't submit the RTI to the HMRC on time, maybe they will end up with a big penalty. They will say, we didn't receive any information from you, so this is your penalty. So your professional behavior and competence and due care has to be like up to date. And obviously, like you need to show like you've done your work on time. Which of the fundamental principle has Tara breached here? So it is professional competence and due care. So obviously this comes under the professional competence and due care. Now in the exam, if you don't see this one, professional competence and due care, the closest one is the professional behavior. Now the integrity is not. Integrity is all about the honesty. So here Tara is honest because she is not stealing the money, so she is honest. And objectivity is not objectivity. Tara don't have any personal interest. Like if she submit the information or if she done the work a little bit late, she is not getting any benefit. So obviously it's not objectivity. It's the professional competence and the due care. Let's move to the next one. Let's have a look what else we have. It says Tara has been told that she is facing disciplinary procedures because she has behaved unethically. Identify whether or not each organization below may bring disciplinary procedures against Tara for her unethical behavior. So if the employee is qualified from the AAT, and if she done something unethical, and if the company report to AAT like one of the employees, she is or he is a member of AAT, and she is acting unethically, so AAT may take the action against this person. Said, I'm going to, maybe the AAT said, we are going to revoke or we are going to suspend your membership. It is possible. So AAT may bring disciplinary procedure against Tara. This is true. Then we have the next one, the National Crime Agency. No, if the person don't work on time, doesn't mean like you can inform to the NCA or National Crime Agency. They will not do anything, most probably not. Then the company, yes, they may take a disciplinary action because the company you work for, Tara work for, they can say you don't do your work on time, so we don't need you, we'll take action against you. It's possible. Let's move to the next one. Let's have a look what we have here. The next one we have here, it says employment regulation require employers to pay worker at least national minimum wages. So every country, especially the developed country, there is a minimum national wages. In UK, it is now £8.91. So obviously, like if you employ someone over 25 years old, you have to pay per hour this amount. You cannot employ someone less than that. Even if you like to pay less, the payroll, the software will not allow it. They will tell you you are paying less than minimum national insurance, so you are not accepting that. So this is the minimum threshold you have to pay. Leham Limited makes high level of profit. The chief executive insists that managers should be paid a very high rate with regular bonuses, but workers should receive only the national minimum wages with no entitlement to the bonus. So you need to understand, once a company uh, make like a very good profit, or if a company becomes successful, it's not only because of the manager, it's because of the everyone. For example, from the manager till the cleaner, everyone have a contribution. So if you just give bonus to the manager, it doesn't look like ethical. It looks like unethical. Also, they will be demotivated. They will feel like, I am also working for the company but never receive any reward for the company. So this is kind of unethical. Identify whether the following statements are true or false. The chief executive policy on employee pay raises doubt about the ethical nature of the leadership and the culture of Leham Limited. That's true, isn't it? Because the policy they are maintaining, the chief executive, it shows like we have a doubt, like this is an ethical environment, because it doesn't look like ethical if they only pay the bonus to the managers, not to the all the employees. Then the next one we have here, they said because Leham Limited uh, comply with the national minimum regulation, it is automatically considered to be behaving ethically in relation to its employees. So they are saying, as the company, uh, as the company paying the minimum national insurance, so they are comply with the regulation. And of course, like they really don't have to face any penalty or anything from the regulatory side. That's true, because they are paying the minimum wages. But remember that something is unethical doesn't mean it is illegal. So I'm paying the minimum wages, it doesn't mean like my environment, the paying environment is ethical. So this is not true, it's false. So we'll not understand automatically this company, L Limited, they are in ethical environment. We said, no, it's not true, it's false. Let's move to the next one. The next one is says, Ian is an accountant who has just started working for Penton Limited, reporting to Hetty, who is also an accountant. Ian has discovered a material error in Penton Limited last corporation tax return. Now, material error means the error is really big. So when there is an error, the error is small, we call it immaterial or immaterial error. But if the error is really big in accounting terms, we call it material error. And also the corporation tax means if you have a limited company, they have to pay the tax to HMRC, and this is called corporation tax. Remember, only the limited company, it could be public or private, only the limited company, they pay the corporation tax. So the sole trader, the partnership, they don't pay any corporation tax. So they found a mistake there. Identify the action Ian now must take. So what Ian should do, he checked the paper, he found there is some error. So what he will do, resign? No, it's not Ian's fault. Why he going to resign? Advise HMRC of the error without disclosing any information to Haiti or Penton Limited. Never do that. If you find a mistake, you have to speak to your director, your superior, your supervisor with the company first. You don't tell directly to the HMRC without have a consultation with your company or the director, because maybe they have no idea about this error. Maybe when you say it, this is the error, maybe they will fix the error. So don't do that. So you have to first, you go with the company, then we go to HMRC. So tell Hetty about the error and recommend that Penton Limited disclose the error to HMRC. So you have to speak to the Penton Limited first, and obviously Hetty first, then recommend that like they should disclose it to HMRC. The next one we have here, they said Hetty realized that she has inadvertently become involved in Penton Limited money laundering operation. So she understand, obviously, like she become the part of that. Even sometimes, like even your managers, they involved with some bad thing because you are part of the team and somehow the responsibilities come to you as well, because you work with the team, even though it's not your decision, even though you're not agree, but sometimes you cannot do anything because all these people are the manager, they are the top level people, they took some decision, you don't have much choice. Complete the following statement. They said Haiti may have a defense against a money laundering charge if she makes what to the relevant authority. So is authorized disclosure. Remember that. Authorized disclosure. There are a few disclosure here. One is authorized, one protected, one is a prompt disclosures we have to know. So if you are not sure about it, so you need to read what the definition of these three disclosure. Authorized disclosure is all about when you are the one who disclose the information and you tell to the authority without telling to the people who can stop you. So basically, if you think like if you tell your manager, they'll stop you. So first you tell your manager, can you correct the error? And they're not listening to you. And if they're still involved with the money laundering, then you can do the authorized disclosure. So in this case, like obviously, uh, you have to disclose the information, and that's how you can protect yourself later on. The NCA or the HMRs will not blame you like you never disclosed the information. So this one has to be read from your ethics paper, and this question is very common in the exam. So make sure you have read that chapter about disclosure. All right, this is the end of the question number one. So let's move to the next one. It's not very difficult. It's not that bad. So obviously we can see, and the ethics question is always a little bit easy. So hopefully like in the ethics, we'll have no issues in the exam. And obviously now we don't have any Excel. So that would be much easier to answer all this question in the exam. Let's have a look at the next question, what we have here. The next question we have here, it says, this task is based on the workplace scenario. BLM and Co. and BLM and Co. are registered for the VAT. Now remember, if the company is registered with the VAT, so VAT is not the cost for them, because at the end, we're going to get the VAT back from HMRC. So VAT is not my cost if I'm a VAT registered business. So only the cost for me is the net. So anything, obviously, if the VAT, I'm going to get the VAT back from HMRC. So if I buy something and if I pay for the VAT, so VAT is not the cost. So let's say if this pen price is £12 and the £10 is the net, £2 is the VAT. So I'll only say my cost is 10 because 2 I'm going to get it back. But if I am not VAT registered, if my business is not VAT registered, then my total cost will be £12 because I'm not going to get the VAT back from HMRC, or I cannot claim this one as input tax. So obviously the VAT will be cost for me. So you have to be careful in the exam. If the question said the business is a VAT registered, then VAT is not the cost. If the question said the VAT is the business is not VAT registered, then VAT is the cost. Today's date is 15th of January. Okay, you are checking an invoice that was issued to a customer yesterday. The invoice is incomplete. Okay, so we have invoice. We can see here invoice date, invoice to, from, invoice number. So we can see the VAT 20%, but is zero. So it cannot be, isn't it? So we have to check how much is the VAT. So it has to be 20% on the net amount. There is no discount here. If there is a trade discount, if there is a bulk discount, remember that the VAT will be charged after all discount. So from the list price, we will take away the trade discount, we'll take away the bulk discount, and after that, on the net amount, we're going to charge 20% VAT. So here we don't have any discounts, so we have to find the VAT. So 20% on that amount, and that will tell us how much is the VAT here. And the totals, if we write the VAT here, and if we add it, that will give us total anyway. So let's have a look, how much is the VAT and how much is the total. So let's have a look. So 2175 times 20%. So that gives me 435. 435. And if I added 435 here with this amount, this total will be changed now. So the new total will be 2610. So my total, including the VAT, will be 2610. That's it. All right, let's move to the next one. This is very easy one. So let's move to the next one. The next one we have here, identify what the impact on BLM profit for the year is if the invoice error is not correct. So they are saying if we don't charge the VAT, don't make the total, what will be the impact on the total profit? The answer is nothing will happen, because when I show my sales, how much is my income, I don't take the VAT. I take only the net sales. For example, if my sales is £100, for example, let's say sales is £100 and VAT is £20 and the total is 120. So I don't take 120 on my profit and loss account. I take 100 because that's my actual sale. VAT goes to the VAT control account. So VAT goes to VAT control account. So it will not go to the profit and loss statement. So even though I don't correct the invoice, my profit figure remains same because I take the net of the sales anyway. So VAT don't go to the profit and loss account. So we don't show the total there. And that's why on the sales daybook, we have the sales ledger control, we have the VAT, and we have a net sales. So we said BLM profit will not change. So there will be no impact on the profit anyway. The next one we have here, it says, Jed Malone, your fully qualified colleague, has refused to change the invoice as he does not want to upset the customer by increasing the invoice amount. So he's not charging the VAT because he's thinking if he charges the VAT, the total amount will be more and the customer will be upset. Identify what will be your next action. Remember, I'm not going to tell NCA. NCA have no relationship with the VAT anyway. So VAT link with HMRC. So if anything happened, first I'm going to talk to my director or the owner of the business. So I'm going to talk with Brian and Lakmani. These two people are the owner of this partnership business. So I'm going to talk to them like he's doing that. So he forget to charge the VAT and he's not charging now. So obviously I'm going to tell them. All right, so let's move on to the next one. The next one we have here, let's have a look what we have here. You discover that BLM & Co. has been supplying zinc to Melon Limited, a company owned and run by the brother of your fully qualified colleague, Jed Melon. When you look at the relevant invoice, you realize that Jed has been overstating sales and misrecording VAT. As a result, Melon Limited qualify for 15% trade discount on its future purchase from BLN and Co. So this is like the family trade. So what happened, like your brother is the owner, and obviously what happened, he is like showing more on the invoice and showing more. But what happened, like if you show more sales, for example, he's qualified for some discount, and as a result, like the Melon Limited qualified for trade discount, so for the purchase from the BLM and Co. So obviously, like this is kind of the transaction. You can see BLM supplying zinc to Melon Limited. So it's like kind of like familiarity threat, and obviously like because of the brother, they are doing this one. So this is sort of like uh, uh, familiarity threat of objectivity. So let's have a look what is the question here. Applying the conceptual framework from the ethical code, complete the sentence below to describe the situation faced by Jed Malone when recording the sales to his brother company. So as we already know, it's a familiarity threat because his brother is there. And if this is anything connection with the family member or friends, is a familiarity threat and a threat to objectivity because he will be biased here. He will not be fair because he intentionally showing the more sales to qualify for a trade discount. All right, so let's have a look the next one. The next one we have here, you conclude that the deliberate means intentionally misrecording of VAT is unethical behavior by Jed. So what is Jed doing is unethical because he is showing intentionally and misrecording the VAT. Identify what will be your next action. Remember, any action you do, we have to discuss with the owner or the director first. So you're going to say, tell Brian and Lakmani about the concept. Don't tell HMRC about anything. All right, the next one we have here. On the morning 16th of January, Jade is dismissed for misconduct by BLM and Co. and leave the office. You are temporary BLM and Co. only member of the finance team. A VAT officer will be coming to the office for a planned visit on the afternoon of 16 January. You are not prepared for this visit and do not believe you can answer any question from the VAT officer effectively. Brian and Lakmani insist that you must be present and deal with the VAT officer without assistance. So obviously you don't have this enough knowledge or preparation to deal with the VAT officer. So you will be not ready to do that. And they are basically giving you the pressure to do it. You feel intimidated by Brian. Intimidated means pressure. You feel pressure from the owner, like to do the visit. They said you have to be present and deal with the VAT officer. What will be your next action? So here we have resign. You really don't have to resign immediately. Seek external advice from AAT. You can do that. AAT have a ethical side. If you need any help, if you are like not sure about it from the ethical point of view, you can call them. They will explain what to do. Agree, so you don't agree and go with the VAT officer. So we'll go for this one. So we'll take external advice. But normally in the exam, they'll tell you ask the VAT officer to postpone the date so that you can arrange the meeting another time or another date. So we'll go for that. But here we don't have the option. So we need more advice from the AT. Then we have here, because of jet misconduct, Brian Lackmany have asked you to examine his recording of sales ledger transaction for the 3 month ended 31st December 2017. You identify the following information: sales ledger control account balance, 1st October 2017, that's opening balance. And after that, we have this transaction receipt from the customer, that from the cash book. Sales to credit customer, that's your total sales. Return, so sales return. Irrecoverable debt, so people didn't pay to you, so you have to write off this amount. And that's the closing balance we have. Now, sales ledger control is a credit customer account. That's my asset. So all the opening balance of the credit sale will be on the debit side. If the customer pay to me, it will be on the credit. If the customer return to me, it will be on the credit. If there is a irrecoverable debt, it will be on the credit. Because if I'm expecting more money, it is on the debit side. If the customer pay or for any reason the balance go down, is on the credit side. So if I'm expecting more money, debit, debit, debit. If the balance have to go down, balance CD, it will be credit, credit, credit. So let's have a look. So we have a balance B, the opening balance, we have a closing balance, they already give to us. So cash book, so if the customer paid to me, the balance will go down, so it's on the credit side. Sales day book, so if they buy more from me, they have to pay more, so it's on the debit side. Sales return, if they return to me, then it's on the credit side because I'm not going to get this money if they return. And irrecoverable debt, so obviously these people will not going to pay me, so I write off this amount. I'm very sure these people are not going to pay, so that will reduce my balance. Now they're saying calculate the missing figure in the sales ledger control. That means we added the debit side and we added the credit side. If there is any difference, then we're going to write here, because maybe it is not matching. It's supposed to match, but it's not matching here. So if we added the debit side and we minus the credit side, including the balance CD, the difference is coming here. That is 15,842. That means this amount is still short, is on the credit side, and we don't know what it is. The next one is saying identify which one of the following is the missing figure could represent. They're saying what could be the possible reason. So it's not very sure, but possible reason. Discount allowed is the item for the credit side, because if we give a discount to the credit customer, my total outstanding balance will be reduced. So it could be the possible reason. Direct debit customer return by now, cash sale. Now, if I make a sale, it will go up. So that's the only reason we're expecting. All right, let's move to the next one. So far, not bad. So the practice question we can see is quite understandable. It's not really bad. So let's have a look what else we have here. All right, so let's have a look. This task is based on the workplace scenario for BLM and Co. Today's date is 31st of January 2018. From the cost accounting record, you can see that 1st January 2018, BLM & Co. had 8,000 kilo of material inventory. The cost recorded was 18,000. In January 2018, the following movement took place. Okay, that's fine. So what is happening here? So we can see here, that was my stock, and the cost was 18,000. So what happened from the 1st January? So I buy more. So let's say on 1st of January, I had 8,000 kg. So 8 kg, sorry. So you have 8 kilo. And on 6th of January, we purchased another 1,600 kilo. So it should increase. On 11th of January, we purchased another 60 kilo. And 13th of January issued. This is the question mark here. So we need to find the value, how much is the issuing. The partner want to know the remaining inventory. Oh, they're asking what is the value for the closing inventory. That's fine. So that means if I have this one, 8,000. So let's try to check, is it correct or not? So 8,000 we had at the beginning, plus 1,600 kilo we buy. Then we buy again 3,200 kilos. So that gives me total 12,800 kilo. And from there we sold 9,200 kilos. We sold 9,200 issue. So minus that, what is the left on my stock on the inventory? 9,200. So 3,600. That's correct. So 3,600 we have on the stock. That's my closing inventory left. Now, how much is the value for that? So they said using the FIFO. FIFO means first in, first out. So whatever I have on 1st of January, I'm going to use all this first. Then I come to the 6th of January. Then I come to the 11th of January. This is the first in, first out. So out of 9,200, so I'm going to use for the 9,200, I'm going to use all the 8,000. So the opening one is gone, 1st of January. Then I still need how many kilo? 1,200 kilo, isn't it? So still I need 1,200 kilos. So I'm going to take 1,200 from the 6th January. So from the 1,600, I'm going to take 1,200. So let's have a look from this 600, 1,600. And how much is the total here? So 3,440. So the per kilo will be here 3,440. That's the total cost. Divide 1,600 kilos. So per unit or per kilo cost is 2.15. So I need 1,200 to make it 9,200. So I said I need 1,200. So 1,200 each will be 2.15. All right. So from 1,600, if 1,200 is gone, so from 1,600, if 1,200 is gone, so we have 400 here and times 2.15. So 400 times 2.15, that gives me 860, the value left. Because from 1,600, if I take 1,200, because I need 9,200 and I have 8,000 from the beginning, I took another 12 for 400 left, and value for the 1,200 for the 400 is 860 because 400 times 2.15. So this is the 680, 860 we have, and also we have this one 7360 because this 3,200 we didn't use at all. So I said another 7360, and that gives me total the value for the closing inventory 8,220. So this is the remaining value we have for the inventory 8,220. So we have this one in stock. So from the 16 we have 400, and this one that we buy 11th of January we have this stock full. We didn't use it. Remember, if it is a LIFO, that's opposite. And if it is AFCO, so before the issue we make the average. So how many unit, how much is the cost, and after that we multiply with the average one. So we have to know all this method. Maybe in the exam, maybe AFCO will come, like average, or LIFO will come. All right, it's not that hard anyway. So let's have a look. The next one, what do we have here? The next one we have here, this is identify which one of the following is the correct journal to record the closing inventory. So remember, the closing inventory is a debit and the closing inventory also credit. Why? Because When we treat the closing inventory on the profit and loss account, we said opening inventory plus purchase less closing inventory. As we deduct or take away from the cost of sales, we called it minus from there. So opening inventory plus purchase less closing inventory. So less means is a credit on the profit and loss account. And on the other hand, the same closing inventory is a debit under the current asset on the financial statement. So we'll say debit closing inventory current asset and credit closing inventory on the cost of sales. So both closing inventory, one is debit, one is credit. On the profit and loss account, it will be credit. On the financial statement, it will be debit, because from one side it is our asset, that's why it is debit, and for the profit and loss account point of view, it will reduce the cost of sales, that's why it's credit. All right, let's move to the next one. The next one we have here, it says BLM and Co. manufacture jet sinks in batch of 20. So in one batch, there is 20 unit. In the last production run, 2017, the following costs were incurred for the batch, okay? So this is the cost we have here. So we have a direct material, direct labor, that's the variable cost. And these two direct costs together, we called it prime cost. Then we have a variable production overhead, and we have a fixed production overhead and the fixed non-production overhead. So remember that variable cost, total variable cost together, we call it marginal cost. So if we make a unit and we use the marginal cost method or technique, that means we only consider the variable cost. But if we use the full cost or the absorption costing means the full cost, or marginal cost means the variable cost only. So if we use the full cost or absorption costing, that time we have to take the variable production overhead, fixed production overhead, remember that. So we only consider this one on the absorption costing, not with the marginal costing. But this one you're not going to consider anyway because it's a non-production overhead. So none of this would be considered for a marginal or for our absorption. So you're not going to use it because it's a selling and distribution cost. So we don't use it. So let's have a look. What is the question here? So we have this one. Let's have a look. So at 31st of December 2017, 3 jet sink were held in the inventory. So three inventory we couldn't sell is on the stock. And they're asking, explain how the inventory of unsold sink, unsold only 3, is a value differently depending on whether marginal cost or the full absorption cost is used. You must show your workings. So basically they are saying, if I use the absorption costing, what will happen? If I use the marginal costing, what will happen? So you're going to explain and also need to show some workings. So let's try to do that. We know it because when I say marginal costing, we only consider the variable cost. When I said the full cost or absorption cost, we consider everything, not the selling and distribution, only the production overhead that is fixed. So with the marginal, only variable. With the absorption or the full cost, variable plus fixed production, not the non-production. Don't take the non-production one. Okay, so this one I'm going to cross because you don't need anyway. Remember that for any of the method, you're not going to take it. So first we're going to say it's a 4 marks question. You don't have to write much. So we'll say under the marginal costing method, we only consider variable cost. Here we're going to say example. Here we're going to take the direct material, that is 1020 plus direct labor 960 plus the variable production overhead 240. So you're going to add all of this. So let's do that. That is 1980 plus 240. And that gives me total cost, total marginal cost 2120. And if I divide by 20, because they said is a 20 batch. So if I divide by 20, so per unit will be 106, and 3 is still left on the stocks. If we multiply by 3, that will give me the cost 318. 318 will be our cost, the closing inventory cost for all of this. So let's have a look. So we have 1980 and 240 divided by 20. So is it the right one? Let's have a look. 1980 plus 240, that gives me 2220, not this one. 2220 divided by 20, that gives me 111. So 111. So this will be the per sink cost, and I have a 3 sink on the warehouse, so times by 3, that will give me 333. So 3 sink will cost 333. So this is the story. So all you have to say, under the marginal costing method, we consider only variable cost. So we'll add all of this, showing the workings. So per sink will be 111 because you're only adding this and that. And after that, we have a 3 on the stock left. So we multiply by 3. So this gives me the total value, that is 333. For the absorption one, we're going to say under the absorption costing or full costing, we consider variable cost and fixed production overhead, that is 280. So we're going to say we'll add this 3, 1980 plus 240 plus 280, and this gives me 2500. So I need to show all this on this workings. 1980 plus 240 plus 280, that gives you 2500, and divide by 20, that gives you cost per sink, that is 125, and times by 3, because 3 left on the stock, so the closing inventory will be 375. So under the marginal, the value for the closing inventory is 333. Under the absorption costing, the value is 375. So understand the closing inventory is more under the absorption costing, and it is understandable because we include the fixed cost inside of each unit, so the cost will be more anyway. The next one is saying, explain the effect of using the 2 different methods mentioned in I, like 1, on the partnership report profited. You must show your working. So they're saying what will be the impact on the profit. So remember that if we use the absorption costing, the profit will be always more. I'll show you how. So let's say, for example, we have a cost of sales. Let's say, for example, my sales is 1000. For example, my sales is 1000. And from the sales, I'm going to minus my cost of sales. What is the formula for the cost of sales? Opening inventory plus purchase less closing inventory, isn't it? So we have opening inventory. Let's say my opening inventory is 50 and my purchase is 100. And let's say the closing inventory. Now we can see under the marginal costing, my closing inventory value is 333, and under the absorption, it is 375. So for example, under the ABC is more because the fixed cost is included. So let's say my closing inventory here is 50, and we minus it. So how much is the cost of sales here? So 100. And if I minus the 100, my profit will be how much? 900. So from the sales, we minus the cost of sales, the profit is 900. Now, for example, if I change this one, the closing inventory, if I said my closing inventory is not 50, it's actually 100. We minus 100 from here. So my cost of sales will be 50. And actually, my profit will be now 950. So my profit is going up. So what we understand from here, if the closing inventory going up, my profit also going up. Why? Because the closing inventory will reduce my cost. Closing inventory we minus from the total cost, and that's the reason my profit will also go up. So we understand under the ABC method, my profit will go up. That's it. So you have to explain all of this. Under the absorption costing method, the profit will be higher because that one will be reduce the total cost, as the closing inventory will be take away from the total cost of sales. Under the marginal costing, the profit will be lower because we're going to show higher cost, because it will reduce the less cost as the closing inventory figure will be lower. So this is one you have to say. Only 2 marks if you write 2 lines, more than enough. All right, let's have a look what else we have. So the last one we have here, they are saying, let's have a look what question it is. As 31st of December 2017, BLM Co closing inventory value is 36,800. The partners expect to make sales 31,900 in 2018. They expect the closing inventory is rise 10%. So they are saying last year the opening inventory was 36,000. So from the last year closing, from 17, whatever was the closing for the last period is the opening for this period. So whatever was the closing for 2017, that is 36,800, that will be increasing next year as a closing by 10%. That means if my opening inventory is 36,800, and next year it will be increased by, so closing inventory will be increased by 10%. So I will say 36,800 times 1.1. So after the 1, I will increase 1 because it's 10%. If it is 20%, then 1.2. If it will be increased by 30%, then 1.3. So it will tell me how much it is increasing. Then the gross margin expect to be 45%. Gross margin, it's not markup, it's margin. Very careful with that. So margin go with the sales. I'm very happy because if they give me markup, I have to change it. I really don't have to change it. This question from the incomplete records. So obviously, if you don't understand or don't remember your markup and margin, make sure you revise once again. Because in the exam, they're not going to make it simple. They'll give you sales and markup, or markup, margin, and the cost. After deducting the direct material and the direct labor, okay, calculate how much is the BLM Co expected to spend on the direct labor and the material in 2018. That's fine, it's not difficult. We have most of the information. So let's have a look. First, we have a sales. So let's do this one, sales. So I'm writing here. I really don't know in the exam because they should make in a box. How are you going to show this in the workings? So you have to maybe press the space or the tab to write it down, because it should be in the box. It will be easier for us because in the exam, you have to move the cursor to write this thing. You have to show the templates. Anyway, so the sales, they're saying we have 31,90,111. Then we have the next one, we have a cost of sales. So COS, the formula for the cost of sales is opening inventory. Then we have a purchase plus purchase. As in this question, they're not asking the purchase anyway. Less closing inventory. So they're asking here the labor and the materials. I'm writing M plus L. This is the one we're looking for, question mark. And finally, you have a cost of sales, COS, cost of sales. And they said we have the gross profit is 45%. So if the gross profit is 45%, then the cost of sales will be 55%. It's simple. So out of 100%, if my profit is 45%, that means my cost is 55%. So the profit will be 45%. That's not bad. Okay, let's have a look what is the workings here. So the first thing we have a sales. So we write it down already as sales. Then we have opening inventory. That's very simple. They give it to us. Opening inventory that I'm going to write 36,800. Then the material, let me write a little bit top. It's not going to see it here. Okay, so opening inventory 36,800. 800. Then the material, I don't know, I have to find it out. Closing inventory I have, so 36,800 times 1.1, it will be increased by 10%. So that will be 40,480. So I'm writing this one, closing inventory 40,480. And remember that will be in a minus because closing inventory always take away. Then we have a cost of sales, 55%, cost of sales, 55% of the sales. So from this one, I'm going to calculate the 55% because it's a margin. Margin always goes to the sales. If they said markup, don't take it. As I said before, revise your markup and margin once again. So 55% of the sales. So that gives me 174. So 170, 170, 175, 500. Then we have a gross profit that is 45% again on the sales. So that is 45% of the sales. So that will give me 143,550. All right, now we have to find the materials. So all you have to do from there, we have to go back. So from here, I'll go back there. So this one, before the cost of sales, I have this, and after I have this. So remember, when you come from the top to bottom, we do minus plus normal way. But if you go from the bottom to top, we do opposite. And that means what we'll do, we do 1,754, 500. This one is a minus, so we're going to do plus, and this one is plus, we're going to do minus to find the balancing figure. So let's try this one. So we said 1,754, 500. Then this is minus the closing inventory. I'm going to make it plus 40,480. And the opening inventory is a plus. I'm going to make it minus 36,800. And that gives me 1,758,180. And that's my balancing figure. So that's how, if I have all the information, and if one information is missing, I'll be able to find that. So obviously, this question from the incomplete records, if you quickly revise your final account preparation paper, chapter number 2, that one give you the quick revision of your markup margin and the incomplete records. And so many students, they email me, they always said like, how many lines I have to write for a 1 marks? The ideal is one and a half line for 1 mark. So you have to write at least 1.5 sentence to get 1 marks. So when we marking the paper for the student, we always look at like how many marks is there and how many lines they write that is relevant. Maybe you can write a lot, but if this information is not relevant, you're not going to get any marks. And sometimes if you just write only 1 line or 2 lines, but you write to the point, you'll get the full marks. So we have some normal habit. What we do, if we know the question very well, we keep writing because we feel like, okay, we know the question, so let me write more and more. And that's how we waste our time. But the question we don't know, we think like we don't know much, so just write few lines. But it's not the good technique. The good technique is you look at the marks, how many marks for which question. Look at the marks, then you split how many times you have. So you have like 2.5 hours, how many minutes, divide by how many question, and you leave like the time for each question, and you try to finish that question within that time. And that's how you can finish the whole exam within time, and we'll be able to answer every single question. You're not going to feel the time pressure. And the last technique is like more practice. Only the more practice can make you more confident in the exam. So let's finish today here. This is the first maybe part I'm going to upload on the for all of you, for the student. Maybe I'll try to make the second part. Then the second part, we have three question, and the 3 question will be mainly for your theoretical question, 2 question, 1 question will be the calculation. So we're going to see, and this will be our new practice from the September 2021 for the Synoptic paper. So you'll have my email on the description. Obviously, if you have more questions, feel free to email me. And hopefully if I can make some more videos for the Synoptic, that will be maybe helpful for the other student and for everyone. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and hopefully we'll make more video in future. Thank you.